Okay, thank you, Carl. Welcome to Sociology 101 Introduction to Sociology. It's a course that I think can be very practical, can have very practical value in your life, and I'm very excited about it. In this introductory presentation, I'd like to just give you some of the basic overview goals of the course, and then as you go through the course, you'll see if you're meeting those goals or not. And one of these goals has a very practical implication that will be obvious by the time we end. If you look at these goals, there are several different things we'd like to do. One is to understand the web of relationships that you find yourself in, from your husband, wife, boyfriend, girlfriend, son, daughter, mother, father, those sorts of things, so that you see the impact that society is having upon you. Second goal is to develop what we call the sociological imagination. And that's to be able to see where your life fits in with these larger social issues, the intersection of what we call biography, your life, and history, huge things happening in the world today. A third goal is to work on thinking critically and creatively about important social issues. I think too often in our country we've gotten to the point where we can't disagree, or at least we can't do so civilly. We're a country that's based upon being able to disagree. So when you read things in this course, will you ever be offended? Will anybody ever disagree with you? Will you disagree with me or the book? I hope so. That's what this is about. College is about thinking, but use evidence and logic. Use evidence and logic to back up what you're thinking, and listen carefully to the other person's argument. You know, this daytime AM talk radio stuff where they call each other idiots and who can scream the loudest is the right, that's not going to help our country. What's going to help our country are well-intentioned people like you who think carefully, critically, and creatively come to solutions. A fourth goal that we're going to deal with is learning basic statistical techniques like positive and negative correlation, reading scatter plots, reading crosstab tables, things of that nature. And you'll be amazed at how that helps us look at some important social issues. And the final major goal is to gain insights about the effects of groups for the purpose of having more freedom of choice. Now that sounds odd, but let me explain it in this manner. If we introduce something called the freedom continuum, you might ask yourself where you'd place yourself on this if we had the extreme left being the social determinists. Those are the folks that believe that everything in their life is caused by society or caused by other people or caused by forces outside their control. In the extreme right, we have the individual determinists. And those are the folks that believe that they control everything in their life. And of course, I would fall somewhere in between. Where would you place yourself on this continuum if this were like a halfway mark? Where do you think sociologists, being group-oriented, would place themselves? Well, interestingly enough, most sociologists would place themselves somewhere here. And that means that they believe there's lots of effects that groups have upon our behavior. But how does that relate to freedom of choice? One of the key things that we find that psychologists argue relates to mental health. Well, most psychologists would place themselves over here, talking about individual control over one's life and making choices and taking responsibility for those choices. And I agree with that as well. How do the two fit together? If you study sociology by identifying the array of social effects on the left-hand side, the social effects on your life, then we can tend to know more what's going on with the purpose of moving ourselves more to the right towards individual choice, more freedom of control over our lives. So you're about to embark upon an exciting area of study, and you're going to study the culture that you live in, primarily, the United States. And its culture can kind of be seen as like water is to a fish. So, you know, the fish isn't aware of the water it's swimming in. You and I often aren't aware of the uniqueness of our culture. So take that big leap in this course and jump out of the water and say, my God, there's a big picture out there. There are people that think differently than I. There are things that are just as useful as my way of approaching the world that I need to learn about. Have a great course.